Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Yu-Gi-Oh video, and today we are going to talk about Mikanko. So, for those of you that don't know, I am a big-time Mikanko player. It is probably my favorite deck in the game right now, so I would consider myself an expert on this deck, specifically the pure version of the deck. So what I want to do is I kind of want to react and talk about these new Mikanko cards that were just announced. So we have a new main deck monster, we have a new Xyz monster, and we have a new spell card that is not an equip. I've already kind of looked these over and had time to process them a little bit. So I'm going to go over these effects with you and talk about if I think they are good for the deck, how many I think I'm going to run, and yeah, just how impactful they're going to be. So first, let's look at the Earth monster. So one thing that is kind of nice about Mikanko, or that you would know, is that all the main deck monsters are level 3. They all have different types and they all have different attributes. And my gut feeling was is if they were going to come out with another one, it would be Earth. And sure enough, there it is, right? So we have Sanaki, the Mikanko Devotee. And this monster does something kind of different than the other ones, and is kind of unique, right? She does have the one thing in common where, like, when she gets equipped, she has an effect. I guess the water Mikanko doesn't have that either, but for now, the fire, the wind, and now the earth one, they all get an effect when they are equipped, okay? So this character says you can only use the first, second, and third effect of this card's name once per turn each. So number one, you can target a Mikanko card you control and return it to the hand. Now by default, that doesn't sound like that crazy good, but once you understand this card and what it's going to be doing, that's actually very relevant. And so I'll explain that in a minute here. The second effect is either player equips an equip card to this card. You can special summon one non-illusion Mikanko from your deck. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of the turn from the extra deck except Mikanko monsters. There's going to be this card and then the spell card. They're going to kind of lock you to like Mikanko extra deck. That's not a big deal at all because in general, the extra deck is not important to this deck. And the Mikanko Xyz is what you're going to want to summon now anyway. So this doesn't even hurt at all to have that negative effect on there. So that's very good. You get to basically summon any Mikanko from your deck, which 99% of the time is going to be Huli. Unless you're looking for like a mega extend play, which we'll talk about that. It just depends, right? And then if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target a face-up monster on the field and equip this card to it. So a couple of things you're going to notice about this card, or the one big thing is, this Mikanko does not reflect damage. This is the only Mikanko in the game that does not reflect damage. So all of the other main deck ones, if they're equipped with something, they cannot be destroyed by battle, and your opponent takes any damage that they take. The ritual monsters don't need to be equipped. They cannot be destroyed by battle, and they reflect damage. This one does not. But the purpose of this card is to get to the Xyz. So the way this character works is you would either want to normal summon her or special summon her with a Mikanko equip. Then if you normal her, you equip her with a card from your hand, or if you summon her with the Mikanko equip, she's going to get equipped immediately. So the idea is you summon her, equip her, she's going to special say Huli from the deck. Huli is usually what you want to get out because you want that non-targeting. And notice that when she summons the new monster from the deck, there isn't anything equipped to it. So the purpose of her first effect is whatever equip you equip to her to get the effect, you bounce that equip back to your hand, then you can equip it to the Huli. So now the good monster has the equip on, and then you get their search effect, right? So you'd either go to Huli if you want to get non-targeting immediately, or you go Ha-Re because then you could equip to Ha-Re, get another equip. So let's say you already have a Huli in your hand, then I might go Ha-Re, get Mikanko Fire Dance, then I can summon the Huli from hand. What this card is essentially doing, it's basically her by herself equates into 2 monsters. So what this is going to allow you to do is the more effectively get to 3 level 3s on your field, which is what you're going to want to do. You only need 2 to get the new Xyz monster, but you would like to have 3 because the general setup I would like to do with this deck is to get the Xyz out, but then also still have Huli with an equip so the non-targeting is active. So that's really the general idea with this card. So I think she's very good. I'm thinking she's probably a 3 of right now. I want to run her at 3. For me, this may make it so I don't even run the Water Mikanko at all. And right now, I only run the Water Mikanko as a 1 of just to have a different name to Mikanko. And because there are times that her take control of an opponent's monster has been kind of useful. But to be honest, this is probably the thing that makes me take the water out completely, right? So I think she's very good, and she's very important for getting your Xyz plays off. Okay, so then speaking of Xyz, here is the Xyz monster. She is a light fairy, so even the Xyz monster, she's going to be a different type than the main deck monsters, which is good because there can be only one as a card I commonly run in this deck. So to be able to use my little monsters, I can use all of them effectively under there can be only one, and I can still Xyz into this because none of the little monsters are fairy. So this deck operates very well under there can be only one, so definitely a good side or main deck card depending on how you're building the deck, right? But let's check out what this one does. So this is just 2 level 3 Mikankos. You can only use the first effect of this card once per turn. So if this card is special summoned, you can add 1 equip spell from your deck or graveyard to your hand. This is massive because this does not specify Mikanko equips. So the first thing I'm thinking with this is if I use this effect, I can effectively get double-edged sword with this. So in my deck right now, I'm running 3 Hidden Armory. The bad part about Hidden Armory is it does take away my normal summon. But the good thing is I can play as many Hidden Armories as I want per turn, and it essentially allows me to search anything I want. This is basically Hidden Armory on legs, but it doesn't take away your normal summon. And so what this is effectively going to do is to make room for the new cards. I think I'm going to take out Hidden Armory. Just so you guys know, by the way, I am going to do a full new deck profile on this deck with the new cards. I'm going to try to get it out this week. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of print off proxies, and I'm going to do a deck profile with this and kind of talk about my initial thoughts of how I want to run this pure version of this deck with the new cards. But getting any equip is huge. Now I'll talk about what this would actually do in a minute, but let's look at the second effect. So cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, your opponent takes any battle damage from battles involving this card. So once again, just like the ritual monsters, this gets all that good stuff, reflect stuff without being equipped. So this card does not need to be equipped with anything. Okay. Equipping it can still be good because all of the Mikanko equips make it so they can't be destroyed by card effects. So it can be good for that, but it doesn't require to need an equip on, right? And then number 3, and then this is really huge. If this card attacks at the end of the damage step, you can detach 1 material from this card and it can make another attack in a row. So this thing can attack twice, which is really crazy, right? And that now can go into play with this, which, sorry, I think I forgot to go through the rest of these effects. I got so excited about this, but the third effect is if this card is sent to the graveyard. I didn't quite get to that. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target a face-up monster in the field and equip this card to it, right? So what you can do is, the idea is you use that card as material to make this rank 3, and then when you use this effect to get your double attack, you detach a material, you detach the Earth Mikanko, and then she can equip to something on the field. So if you're in a situation where you have this, and then maybe another Mikanko that doesn't have an equip, you can attack with this first, attack, detach to attack again. When you detach the Earth Mikanko, she can equip herself to any other Mikanko that isn't equipped, and then they would be live to attack as well. Now, I don't think, right now, I'm not seeing this third effect being like crazy useful. Most of the time it might even be 2 that you just equip it to something that's already equipped just to get the equip effect. But she doesn't do anything, like she doesn't give any effects or abilities to the monster she's equipped to, right? So essentially it's just doing it to make sure all of your Mikankos can have something equipped, right? It's kind of like a mini version of Arahime, which is the ritual that nobody uses, where she can just equip herself to a card, right? So I don't see this being that big of a deal, that third effect. But what's really huge about this is what I'm envisioning with this card, right? I play my Mikanko deck as a heavy going second deck. So I build it around breaking boards and then making sure my opponent has a monster on field, right? So what I envision with this is I do some combo, very easily get this out, right? Use its first effect to add double-edged sword to my hand. All it requires is my opponent to have a monster, and it doesn't even matter if they have 0 attack. Because what's going to happen is you search double-edged sword with this, equip your opponent with double-edged sword. Double-edged sword is going to give whatever monster is, I guess I should specify and say it needs to be attack position at least, right? So if they have any attack position monster, even if it has 0 attack, double-edged sword gives it 2,000 attack. You swing with this, so let's say it is a 0 attack monster. You swing with this, I take 2,000, my opponent takes 2,000 by double-edged sword's effect. My Mikanko reflects my 2,000 my opponent. 2,000 basically equates to 4,000. And then I detach, attack again, and then it's another 4,000. So it's going to be very easy to OTK with this card. this card is going to make the OTK way, way easier. The way it would work before is typically I'd throw down like a Lava Golem, Double-Edged Sword. Lava Golem's at 5k, I swing with one monster and I get 10k in one shot, right? But this with the double attacking and easy access to the Double-Edged Sword, I mean, if your opponent doesn't have any interruption for doing this, it's going to be easy GG's. So I think this is going to be fantastic. Now, for the Earth one, I'm thinking I'm going to try her at 3 because I really like her. Just the idea that, to me, you know, Huli's the most powerful one in the deck, right? Because it creates the non-targeting. And so because this one, all it needs is to be equipped with something, and then it turns into a Huli on board. My thought process is running 3 of this is like running 6 Huli. And Huli is the #1 card I want to see the most out of anything in my deck. So why not maximize on that? So that's my thought process with that. This extra deck space isn't that tight for this deck because it doesn't use the extra deck that often. It's maybe like SP Little Knight. It might be going into, you know, Downward Magician into Zeus, that kind of play. Using, what's his face? Sorry, so many names, but the one guy that you put 3 level 3s in and can attack 3 times for 7,500, like that guy I'll use in there, but I don't use it too often. It's only if I need to pressure damage. You know, running a bunch of the elemental links because this deck has like all of the elements in it. I can take control and I can get all, you know, stuff like that, but none of it's too important, right? Like you can run IP, SP, you can run, you know, the other Xyz guy that you just throw down if your opponent summoned twice from the extra deck. Like all that basic standard stuff is in there, but none of it's really like super mega necessary other than I need something to push damage with attack. So my thought process is I'm going to actually run 3 of these in my extra deck, because if you run cards like, you know, Pot of Extravagance, which are typical things that I run in this deck, Pot of Prosperity, Pot of Extravagance, things like that, you want to make sure that if you're doing things that randomly mess up your extra deck, that you have, you know, you have access to this now. The other card I'm currently running is Gordian Slicer, which is very heavy commitment to the extra deck being kind of empty. So if I run 1 Gordian Slicer and I want to remove 2 things, basically I only have a 3-card extra deck. So I want to have, you know, flexibility to where I know that this is going to be in there and that I have access to it, right? So I'm thinking I'm going to put 3 in just for the sake that extra deck isn't that important. And I want to guarantee I have access to it. Plus, if your opponent's running like Kashtira or like Dogmatica stuff where they're messing with your extra deck, you want more copies of this in here, because to me, this is like the new boss monster of the deck. You want access to it, right? All right, so with that, let's look at the spell card here. So this is a normal spell. So they didn't get any new equips. I'm not disappointed in that because I don't think the deck needs new equips. The other thing to keep in mind too is they haven't announced everything from this. I think this is going to be the only like Mikanko exclusive support, but being that this card searches any equip, not just Mikanko equip, makes me think that within this pack, they could put some other generic equips in here that any deck could use that could be very useful for this. So even though they're not directly getting a new Mikanko equip, it doesn't mean there aren't going to be new equips in this pack that could help Mikanko, right? So I'm not disappointed that this isn't an equip card, because equip cards get kind of clunky anyways. So I feel like there is the right amount right now. I don't feel like I need more Mikanko equips. So this is a normal spell. You can only use the first, you can only use one of the first and second effect of this card's name per turn, and only once that turn. So basically what it's saying is once per turn, you can use either the first or second effect. And if you've done that, you can't use either of them for the rest of the turn. So if you get multiple copies of this card in your hand, it's going to be kind of dead. So this is where I'm kind of like torn on this. I'll go through the effect in a second. Right now I'm leaning 3 of this. But if I open with multiples in hand, it really stinks. So we'll just put it that way. But the first effect is you cannot special summon from the extra deck for the rest of this turn except Mikanko. I talked about this before. This doesn't really hurt the deck because extra deck isn't super important. And with the new Mikanko Xyz, that's what you're going to want to get. Okay. You can also send 1 Mikanko card from your deck to the graveyard, except this named card. And you can set a Mikanko spell or trap from your deck, except this card. This is insane to me, because this deck already has a lot of good graveyard utility, i.e. normally what I'm going to be sending off of this is probably Mayawashidori, because Mayawashidori can special from grave. If Mayawashidori or Ceremony are already engraved, because I can just banish Ceremony to put my Awashidori in. So if either of those are already engraved, then you could use this to send whatever monster you want. So you could send Huli, and then you've got instant no targeting. Or you can send the Earth one. The Earth one will equip and then turn into 2 monsters, and then that turns into your Xyz. So some crazy combos coming off of just the Foolish Burial of this. But then the other one is set a Mikanko spell or trap. Now, yes, I could set the actual trap cards, but the way I'm going to utilize this is you could get any Mikanko equipped with this. You can set it, and because it's not a quick play, you can just activate it at the same turn. So the way I look at this card is basically a Mikanko equipped search and a Foolish all-in-one. So this is why I think I'm no longer going to run Hidden Armory. Because Hidden Armory is great because I can do more than one per turn, and I can search any equip, not just a Mikanko equip, but it does take me away from my normal summon. And I'm thinking with the new setup, I'm going to want my normal summon, because my goal, like I said, is I want to get 3 Mikankos out, because I want to be able to make the Xyz and still have a Huli on board to protect. Is kind of my main goal with this deck. And having the normal summon is almost going to be necessary to do that consistently. So I'm thinking I can take the Hidden Armories out, because the combination of this plus the Xyz really does what Hidden Armory did. Because this is going to search my non-Mikanko equips. I'm going to be able to get my double-edged sword with this. And then this is going to get me my Arabesque or my Fire Dance, whatever I need to kind of get my turn going. I'm going to be able to get that with this. While sending something to the grave. Dude, this is, it is so good. So I'm telling you guys right now, from an experienced Mikanko player, not only are all 3 of these cards playable, I think they're all must runs in the deck. And I think most of them are going to be a 2, if not 3 of in the deck. Right now, I'm going to try maxed out. I'm going to try this at 3, and I'm going to try the Earth Monster at 3. Because once again, my thought process is running this at 3 is like running Huli at 6. Obviously, the deck is going to be susceptible to interruption, but I already know how well the deck can play through interruption. It just depends on what you draw, right? Mikanko is still going to have the same problem where you could draw all Mikanko equips and not have an actual monster to do anything with. That's always going to be the nature of this deck. But I think having searchability like what this is doing is going to add consistency to it, because if I open this, I can make a play happen out of this, right? Getting an equip face down and getting something to the grave, I can make something happen with this. Even if I don't have a Mikanko monster, let's say I open Fire Dance, which requires a Mikanko monster to do something with. This can send the monster I want to grave, and then Fire Dance can summon it. Let's say I don't have Fire Dance in hand, and I don't have any Mikanko monsters, but my opponent has a monster on board. Well, then I can use this to set Arabesque, equip my opponent's monster with Arabesque, and I can go to the races from there. So I think these cards are all absolutely fantastic. If you want to see my new deck profile, just keep your eye out on my channel. I'm going to try to get it out sometime this week. Once again, I want to kind of print the proxies and maybe playtest a little bit before I put that out. But I will get a new profile out sometime this week, talking about how I'm going to run the new Mikanko cards. And once again, this would be a pure build. And this is without running, you know, the Acid Golem combo and stuff like that. If you guys want to run that, Ken and Jen, I know that's stuff that people run. I run a fairly pure version of it. So if you're interested in that, keep your eye out. I'll show you what I got going on. Let me know what you guys all think about the new Mikanko stuff, but I am extremely excited for it. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.